This is a walkthrough of the Shelby Cobra model that I've just rigged. I'm going to be talking about the handles and what they do, as well as some of the limitations that I've put on them, and later on in the video I'll show you how you can change some of these limitations if you want to. So I'm going to start with the handle at the bottom right here, which is the Shelby Cobra Master Control, and what this lets you do is move it, front and back, up and down, left and right, and when you're doing this you'll notice that the tires actually rotate with the vehicle. So when you're animating the car driving, you don't have to worry about independently rotating the tires with it. If you look in the channel box, you'll also see that I've put these attributes in there. So there's overspin, drift wheels, headlights, brake lights, running light left and running light right. These last four are all relating to the light system of the vehicle, which I'll talk about later on when I get there. But we're going to talk about the overspin and the drift wheels as they're relating to the tires. So a Shelby Cobra is not a four-wheel drive car, it's actually a two-wheel drive. So what that means is that the rear wheels back here are what drives the vehicle. So if you want to animate the car, let's say holding the brake but tapping the gas, you can do that with the overspin. So you can just rotate the back two wheels. You can do it as well with the front wheels. I've added the drift wheel option, so you can animate it drifting, or the front wheels spinning for any reasons like that. So again, looking at the tires, you'll notice that there's these handles at the bottom of the tires. These don't really matter for the front suspension, as the front suspension has two handles that you can really control it from. So this is the front suspension control and this is the control steering. These bottom handles though do allow you to move the tire anywhere you want. It's most useful for the rear tires as there's no control steering for them. These are independent, so if you needed to rotate them you have to do it manually, and there's no limitations on these. So with the front you have this control front suspension, and basically there's limitations on the up and down movement. So if you just wanted to animate the tires kind of digging into the car a bit, or kind of falling a bit down a bit more, then you can do that. But if you want to rotate them together simultaneously, turning, then you want to use the control steering and rotate it on the y-axis. So as you can see, there's some limitations on these. But this also controls the body of the car, so if you can rotate it left and right, front and back. So if you wanted to hit the gas and have that body of the car rock backwards, you can do so. And like I said, there's some limitations on these as well. Moving on to the pink handles, these are squash handles. So I'll turn off the textures, and what these let you do is basically squash the tire a little bit. So this is good if you're animating the car going through rocky terrain or like up a speed bump or something like that. It just adds that little pressure on the wheels that you can also maintain while you move the vehicle. So as you can see, the tires are still rotating through that squash. And again, there's limitations on these which you can also change if you want, which I'll show you later. But that's essentially the tires. And this control right here is the body control, so it just lets you move everything but the tires. So moving on to the headlights, the brake lights, the running light left and the running light right. So the light system, I've let you have control basically in the channel box. So I'll pull up the render view so you can see how this works. So the headlights, the front headlights, they work simultaneously together. So if you turn them on, they'll both come on at the same time. So I will input a value over here. And there they are. So as you can see, you can't really see much because I haven't included a floor plane. I'll quickly do that now. There you go. So here you can see that the headlights are working. If you added fog or like messed around with the render settings, you can see the light stream come out. At the moment you can't really see it, you'll just have to rely on the reflection. But if you wanted to change the the lights spread, you can do so manually, just selecting the light. These are area lights that I've parented to the geometry of the headlights. I'll show you the geometry just in case you want to change some later, but that's the headlights. And in the channel box, the running light left and the running light right are basically the blinkers, the front blinkers of the car. So you can animate these in the timeline. They don't work simultaneously, unlike the headlights, so they're independent as they are the blinkers. But that's what they look like. They have a yellow emission material on at the moment. I hadn't put any color to the headlights, so you can change that, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But for the rear lights, they work the same as the headlights, so they work simultaneously together. They're kind of bright. I did struggle with the rear lights a bit, but this is the outcome I managed to get. Again, they're area lights, but they are in a cylinder form instead of its quad. You can change them to quads, disc, but I thought cylinder looked much better. So yeah, those are how the lights work. I'll show you the geometry of the headlights real quick. So what's parented to the area light is the lens and the actual emission right there. As you can see in the geometry, you've got the lens and then you've got the actual emission material. So if you wanted to select, let's see, yeah, there you go. You have to select the inside. This is the lens and this is the material itself, and go into the attribute editor, and it's AI headlights that you can change the color for. So if you wanted, I don't know, like a yellow, oh actually wait, it's an emission. So if you wanted yellow headlights, you change the color in the emission tab, and that's how you do it. And I'll change both of them as they are assigned with the same material. And that's pretty much all the handles. If you want to know how to change some limitations, I'll quickly run through them. So with the control steering, if you go into the attribute editor and go into control steering, limit information and rotate. So there's nothing on the translate as it doesn't move at all. It's purely on rotation axis. If you wanted to adjust, like have more rotation on this, so this is on the Z axis, you can just alter the numbers on the minimum and the maximum. Don't alter the current as they all go back to 0. You just want to change the minimum and the maximum, and that goes the same for rotating in the Y axis and the X axis. For the squash though, however, you don't want to use rotate, you want to use translate, and it's only on translate Y. So you can change it, again, the minimum, just the minimum actually. But this is the squash 1, I think. No, this is squash 2. So as you can see, the maximum it goes is negative 0.1. So if you wanted to change this, you could right click, edit expression, and it is this first one right here, the tire squish control. And if you wanted to change it for everything, then I'd suggest just doing it in the expression editor. And this is squash 2. So if you just wanted to change one tire, make sure you have the correct one on, and you can just change its multiplying factor. So I'd say 0.5 and hit edit. And as you can see, its maximum factor is now negative 2.50, and it does that bigger squash. Yeah, that's pretty much it. A couple last things. For the steering wheel, you want to rotate it using the locator. It's a bit wobbly, but I couldn't really fix it, but it still works. There is by default a light in here. It's called lighting. It's just an Arnold physical sky. You can't see at the moment as I've turned off the lighting shape, so let me just turn it on, and it's black, so I'm just gonna hide the lights real quick. And when you render it, this is what it'll basically look like with just the physical sky. As you can see, there's no ground plane, so there's not much shadow of the actual vehicle, but this is what it looks like with the textures on and everything. Yep. And that's it really.